I'm going to show you how to replace upper control arm bushings in General Motors 1973 through 90 or so. People keep telling me they don't want to work on it. They're really hard to do. The only way to do it is to burn the rubber out of the bushings. And then you need a press and a spacer to put it back together. I found none of that to be the case, and I did them myself without a press, without a torch, and I will show you how to do that. First I'm going to introduce the original upper control arm shaft and bushings. The rubber was worn out. I had a lot of end play. These were polyurethane bushings installed about 30 years ago. I'm replacing them with rubber. They'll last another 30 years. I already replaced the one in this arm, in both of these, but I forgot to look at the instructions. So there's a spacer washer missing. I have to do it again. The only way to get this out without a torch and torching the old bushings out is to cut the shaft. So Moog and others sell a replacement shaft kit. I have one here. The whole shaft comes with new bushings. They're rubber, not polyurethane. If you want to use polyurethane, get the shaft kit and throw away the rubber bushings. I don't think the polyurethane is necessary for my car. I had them, they really didn't make much difference. But I'm also driving a land yacht, so. But these were used in two-wheel drive trucks, in Astro vans, in a lot of the full-size cars, all the same upper control arm shaft kit. This one's complete, all put back together. You can see the spacers in here where they're supposed to be, these little flat washers. When I assembled this one, I forgot to put them in. There's no way to get them back out without cutting this shaft off. The procedure is, did it with the old ones. Cut the shaft, use a ball joint kit, a ball joint press to force the bushings out. Use a ball joint press to force one bushing all the way in, and the last bushing I just tapped in with a hammer. It was not that hard to put in. I didn't need a press. I used this hammer with this socket, tapped it in until it went home. It didn't bend the arms, it didn't warp anything. If you're using more than this kind of a hammer, if you need more than that, then you might need to put in a spacer and a press, but I will show you exactly how I did it. First step is to cut this shaft off. I'm using a cut-off wheel. I'm just going to slice through it just like I did with the old ones. Then the shaft comes out through the middle. As long as you have a replacement shaft, you don't need to burn the rubber out of the bushings or any of the things that all the old school mechanics were telling me to do. Now that the shaft is cut, it's out. You have full access to the bushings. This ring fits over the bushing. We're going to press out into that ring. I couldn't find a ring or a flat to press this end of the bushing through. It just so happens that the ball joint tool lines up perfectly in size with the steel on the bushing. I just had this other bushing out and replaced it when I forgot the washers, so I'm not going to replace it again. I'll just reuse the same one, but the kit comes with both new bushings. All you have to do is turn the ball joint kit around. And use it to install the new bushing. I found that this socket was a perfect fit here. And just like that, you run the new bushing in. I'm not going to do it right now because I still need to put the shaft together. Once you put the shaft in, obviously you can't use this. You can use this to push one bushing in, but not the second one. It was very low force. It slides right in, easy peasy. For those of you watching closely, yes, I almost forgot to put the washers on again. So for this next step, I'm going to grab a board. You need a spacer here when you're using the hammer. So you're not just hitting the end of the shaft. That's it. You can still see what looks like a little bit of a gap here. There's actually a tiny gap. That will go away when you tighten the ends. There are big washers that go over the ends that'll lock this in place. You don't want to tighten those down until your car is sitting on its suspension. So you do see a little tiny gap in there. And when you tighten the bushing down, once it's in the car, that gap will go away.